Steve, did you know there are 310 different types of pasta? There's fusilli, rigatoni, tubatini, vermicelli, cappelletti, orzo, rotini, ditalini.
Spaghetti.
Yes, of course there's spaghetti, but I mean spaghetti is everywhere. I mean, you know, there's spaghetti and meatballs, spaghetti and tomato sauce, spaghetti bolognese, tin spaghetti, spaghetti, everybody knows spaghetti, but I'm talking about the plethora of pastas that's out there in the big, wide world apart from spaghetti.
Spaghetti.
What?
Yes, spaghetti. I need spaghetti. It's right there by your hand. I need some.
You haven't been listening to a thing I've been saying, have you?
You were saying something?
I don't know why I bother.
Yum, 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 yum.
Hi everybody and welcome to another edition of One Chef One Critic. I'm Karl Wells, food critic for The Telegram.
And I'm Chef Steve Watson of Central Dairies.
Well, Steve, just to show folks that you do know a thing or two about pasta, you're going to show us how to reheat pasta, leftover pasta.
Absolutely, Karl. What I have here, I've got my pasta sauce, my spaghetti already, and I'm going to be reheating this in a microwave. So what I would do, I would just take our portion like this, and instead of keeping it in a pile, I would make a circle, leave that center open like this. So when you put it in the microwave, it will evenly distribute the heat, and you won't be able to stir it all the time.
Well, that's a great idea.
You'll cut it down by half.
By
Reheating
half?
by
Really?
half. Absolutely.
Oh, yeah. Perfect. Yeah. Well, I have a little bit of pasta trivia for you. You know the three biggest manufacturers of pasta in the world? Number one is Italy. That is no surprise, of course. The United States, not so surprising. But number three, Brazil.
Really?
That was a surprise to me.
Yeah, a little bit of trivia.
Must eat a lot of pasta in Brazil or export. Anyway. Well, our guest today on the program is Steve Bartlett, journalist, of course, but also the managing editor of The Telegram. And what will we be making with Steve?
We're going to be making a beautiful pasta bake with beef tenderloin.
More
Italian style.
More pasta. And speaking of baking, Chef Darryl Haynes of the Marine Institute is with us, and he's going to make baked mussels Rockefeller. So stay tuned. For a complete listing of One Chef One Critic recipes, wine lists, and more, check out our website. Let us know what you think of the show at 757-9600. And we have been joined by Steve Bartlett of The Telegram. Nice to have you on the program, Steve.
My pleasure.
Now, we have a beefy dish to cook today.
Absolutely,
Yes.
Steve, Karl. What we've got here, we've got some AAA, no expense spared today, AAA beef tenderloin, Canadian beef tenderloin. So what we're going to do, we're going to saute that with some peppers and some onions and garlic and 3 or 4 different kinds of cheeses and some pasta. Then we're going to bake that in the oven. So we'll quickly get started. I'll pop the pan on there, we'll get some heat.
What Steve is saying is we really want to suck up to you today because we've got the best of the best.
I'm liking this.
Absolutely. So maybe, Karl, we've got some heat there, haven't we? And what I'm going to get you to do, Karl, we need some beautiful garlic bread with that. Got some clarified butter there, and we'll get you to grill it, okay?
Okay, I think I can handle that.
Okay, I've already seasoned the meat.
Yep.
And I'm just going to pop that in there, and we'll get that going. And maybe we can turn the heat up as well, Karl, a little bit more.
All right.
So I'm going to get you to stir that, Steve, and away we go.
So what did you season the meat with?
It's a little bit of salt, a very, very fine sea salt.
Right.
And I'm going to keep the peppers and heat for it to a little bit later, okay?
So, Steve, I have to ask you, and I'm sure things have changed, given that we're in this modern age. What does the managing editor of The Telegram do these days?
The managing editor of The Telegram does a lot of things. But the main thing is, right now, that consumes my life, I guess, is trying to help evolve our papers into the modern era.
Right.
Which is, because people are consuming media and information at all different speeds and all different types of ways or kinds of ways.
Of course, obvious, yeah.
And so we want to be able to be relevant on whatever platform that a reader wants to find us. So that's the challenge, and the biggest challenge is that the technology tends to evolve every day. So it's actually it's quite a challenge and a bit of fun, but sometimes you're going on. what? We got to do that now? So,
So when you say platform, you're talking about like social media, video.
yeah. So people are in print, online, apps. Social media, it's always growing. So the thing is,
so in that landscape, where do newspapers fit in with average people today?
our readership is still quite strong, and because there's still a lot of people like having the tactile paper.
Yes.
Right? So we've got a large segment of the population that still want to hold it in their hand, but we also got an emerging audience they want to hold it in the palm of their hand in a phone.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's basically the supply of information is the same. It's the same. Content is much the same as it's been in terms of how we post it and what we do. We're always trying to get better at storytelling, right? Hopefully that'll never stop. So what we want to do, our audience now is larger than it's ever been in terms when you combine all the platforms. It is absolutely amazing.
Is that right?
It absolutely surpasses any amount of. The number is higher than I ever thought it would be. Yeah.
Now, what about the paperboy? Do you still have the paperboy treading the footpath, so to speak?
Yeah. We still have some paper boys. We still have
And girls.
Yes,
yeah.
sorry, right? Some newsies, as they used to be called. So there's still some of them, and there's still there's some adults now who've taken it upon themselves to get some exercise in the mornings that do it, and there's also people who do it by contract. Contract drivers. So there's a mix of things there.
Because I know we get the paper and it's delivered like sometimes at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, and which is fantastic.
Yeah, that would likely be a driver.
A driver. Okay.
I'm thinking.
Yeah.
Now, you mentioned storytelling. I mean, for my generation, when I started out, it would, there was no world of the 30-second soundbite and, 140 characters on Twitter.
Right.
It was all about telling the story and getting the facts right and being balanced and all that stuff. With the younger folks coming on today, do they still have the same attitude towards the importance of telling the story and doing it properly?
The younger reporters or the younger audience?
Well, I suppose both.
Yeah. No, the reporters. The reporters still have the same kind of mandate. They want to get the facts right, obviously, right? The storytelling is changing so much. For years, our industry was stuck in the inverted pyramid style, right? We're trying to advance that all the time and make stories more engaging for people and more about people than about things or process, right? So rather than tell a story about a council decision, we want to tell the story of the person who's impacted by that decision.
Right. Yeah.
So that's what we're trying to do. And also we find that stories about people and their challenges, because we all have challenges. I'm being challenged right here to do this.
No, you're doing a great job. Great job.
You're stirring a pot, Steve.
Please correct me if my.
And given your career, that should be pretty easy.
No. It's stirred a few pots. Anyway, we try to find we find people and their challenges. Whether that challenge is to shoot a basket, or whether they're trying to overcome a disease or a financial crisis, or they're just trying to learn a song.
Yeah.
Everyone has a challenge that they're trying to. So I want, and I encourage all reporters and journalists to tell stories about people and their challenges, because it's a common theme that we all share.
How long have you been with the Telegram?
The Telegram since 2008, but I've been with the company since 1993.
Oh, really? Okay. Yeah.
You started at the Western Star.
I did start at the Western Star, but that was I started there as a summer. I started there for a summer after I failed miserably out of a science faculty at Mont. Okay. So I failed in the journalism, but I'm very lucky because it's the best career I could ever dream
And then you
of.
managed, or you were the editor of the Express for several years.
Yep, for 7 years. Yep.
Yeah, where you wrote comedy.
I did.
Or humor, I should say.
I did write a humor column, which I miss dearly.
Because people thought you were the next Ray Guy.
Yeah, I did get a few comparisons to Ray Guy, and I don't know, maybe one day I'll go back to that. But
well, that's quite an honor.
That was the biggest honor for me. I never took that seriously because, my God, Ray Guy is Ray Guy. And
but I mean, humor, they say, is one of the hardest things to write.
Yeah.
Did you find that?
Yeah, I did, and it's it's not that humor's hard to write. Writing humor every week is hard.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's why I think you see some of the big comedy writers say go on a long break sometimes, because I think the pressure is just so much that they.
Yeah. It's kind of like having a gun to your head and somebody saying, "Be funny." Be funny.
Yeah, that's exactly what it's like, minus the guns. But I still like that, and I still hope that someday I'm going to be able to resurrect some kind of a humor writing again, because it was a lot of fun, and it really opened so many doors for me as a writer.
I imagine, yeah. Getting back to storytelling, you know, often in the business, you have to tell stories that are, well, bad news stories, and some are absolutely heartbreaking. But every now and then you get something that's very positive, and you kind of feel really good about telling this story.
Yeah.
Do you have like one story that you felt really good about telling?
Yeah, you know, that's the easiest question in the world for me to answer. When I was at the Express, a young man from China walked into my office in tears. And I was like, okay, what can I do? He said, well, his mother had been killed because of her religious beliefs. Oh my gosh. And his father had been either killed or imprisoned, he didn't know. And he was here at MUN studying business, and he had no idea. His parents were also his financial backing while he was here. So he had no idea if his parents were alive or he knew his mom was dead. He didn't know about his dad. All his money had been cut off. So I said, like, why did you come to me? And he said, well, we got this newspaper and your name was on it. So we came in, and he was so petrified. He thought the Chinese government was coming to Newfoundland to get him. And so I said, look, all I do is write stories. I can write a story about your situation and let people know, and I don't know if that will do any good. I encourage you to contact, you know, your embassy or whatever, or someone. So I wrote the story, and he was so afraid that he only let me take his picture like this. Right? He was frightened. And so the story appeared, and the community of St. John's just embraced him. I had people sending me money. One guy sent me a check for $1,000.
Wow.
I had I had a family in the center city, said, look, he can come live with us for the rest of the studies. And that was around Christmas time. And my mom said, Steve, what do you want for Christmas? And I said, you know what? I got my gift. That was the greatest gift, right? Yeah. So my mother gave me tube socks.
Well, on that happy note, I'm going to duck out to the wine cellar and pick out a wine to go with this.
Okay.
Okay, Steve, that's just about ready now. I'm going to pop the pasta in there, some sauce, and then we're going to add our 3 cheeses to it.
Hi,
Hello,
Jennifer.
Karl.
Jennifer Murray of P&S Wines with us again. And we've got our reds, which is good because the dish, you know, is an Italian beef tenderloin pasta bake. So it's a stick to your ribs kind of meal. And we definitely require a red wine. So what would you suggest?
Yes, when you talk about Italian dish, I always think about, you know, Italian wines.
Of course, yes.
You know, great complement and specific because they use so much tomato, and you can never underestimate the acidity in the tomato, of the tomatoes. So the first suggestion is Malorio Montepulciano di Abruzzo from the Abruzzo region. It's a beautiful area by the Adriatic Sea, and it's right to the east of Rome. So this would be a great wine, lots of fruit, but a nice acidity.
Sounds good.
And we have it for $26 at the NLC. Second option is Pirona Langhe Barbera. The grape variety is called Barbera, and it comes from Piemonte region. Again, it's a similar profile, but it has a bit more tannins. But that will also go fantastic with your dish because it also has some forest floor characteristics. So great complement. And we have this one for $26 at the NLC stores. And finally, something a little bit different. It doesn't have as much acidity as the previous ones, but it has a very nice fruit, and as well it has a nice tannins, and so it will also complement your dish. And it's also very popular, Malbecs now. And this is one of a very well-known wine, Benmarco Malbec, from one of the best producers in Argentina, from the Agrelo region, Mendoza.
Has a very nice label as well.
Yes, she's really innovative, yeah. Delicious.
Okay, so we have 2 Italians, right?
Yes, 2 Italians.
And an Argentinian.
Argentinian.
Whoo,
Yes.
boy.
Why not?
Well, yeah, why not? Exactly, yeah. Okay, so just to go through the prices again. The Italians are 25.
25 and change, and
Yeah.
26 and $32.
Okay. Oh, what the hey? I'm going to go with the
Absolutely.
Argentinian.
Why not? Different
Yeah.
dimension.
Yeah.
Yes.
This just looks like a really
Yeah, it's a rich
interesting
dish, so it
Malbec.
will complement really well your dish.
Thanks so much,
You're
Jennifer.
welcome.
Now we added our homemade tomato sauce to our pasta bake. We added our 3 cheeses, our feta, our mozzarella, and our Asiago. So we'll pop that in there. We'll add a couple of pieces of our garlic bread, which Karl made, like so, to the side. A little garnish with a basil leaf. And now let's join Karl and Steve from the Telegram in the dining room.
There we go.
Thank you.
Something to wash down this beautiful dish with. It is beautiful, and I'm actually in the mood for something beefy. So let's tuck in and see what it tastes like.
Absolutely. Oh, it's nice with the cheese for sure.
Wow.
That's very, very nice.
Very, very nice.
Now, before we go, Steve, I just want to show people this. This is a book you have on the shelves, published by Creative. First in line, The Incredible Life of Leonard Stick. And you had to tell us the significance of the title, First in Line.
Okay, so Leonard Stick was he was the first person to register or to enlist with the Newfoundland Regiment in 1914. He was one of the first leaders of the Newfoundland Ranger Force in the 1930s, and he was one of the first MPs we sent to Ottawa in 1949.
Really?
Amazing.
Yeah, so he had a number of firsts in his life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the name, the name Stick doesn't really resonate today, does it? I mean,
No.
it's an unusual name. You would think it would, but I mean, I don't remember him being talked about. When people would talk about the first 500 and all that stuff over the years.
No, it's and that's one of the reasons I wanted to write the book, because I think he played a pretty integral role in joining Confederation. Newfoundland joined Confederation as well. Some people don't like what he did, some people do, but they can read about it.
Well,
But the thing is, he was a bit. I think he was overshadowed by Smallwood. I think, and like many of his day, I think. But he had a number of contributions that are significant and worth remembering.
Yeah, but I mean, when they answered the roll call next day, there were only 68 out of over 700 that went over the top, and I mean that automatically would have made him a significant personage in Newfoundland, a real Newfoundland genuine hero in Newfoundland terms. But I was thinking, and I've read the book, and it's a great book, by the way. He must have had a lot of mental baggage, having gone through Gallipoli and Beaumont Hamel. I mean, was there any indication that he was at all haunted by what he saw during the war?
Like I wrote the book in co-authored it with his daughter Hilda, and she's still alive and lives in Grand Falls. He never spoke about the war to anyone, right? To any of his family. They had very little recollection.
That's very typical,
right?
isn't it?
And all he left in his personal notes was a page and a half, handwritten note. This is what happened to me. So it was very little, and that was the biggest challenge about the book, was there's little information he left behind.
Yeah.
But he saw some horrific things, undoubtedly.
Yeah, well, we owe a lot to Leonard Stick and all the others who fought for the cause. And the book is great. First in line, Hilda Morrow and Steve Bartlett. Available now. And thank you very much, Steve, for being on One Chef, One Critic.
Cheers.
Coming up next, we have Chef Darryl Haynes, and he's going to make mussels Rockefeller. Stay tuned. Our next guest manages the food service operations at the famous Marine Institute in St. John's, among managing many other things. Nobody does just one thing anymore. He and I go back quite a ways, because way back in another century, we did quite a few barbecuing segments together on television. While he was barbecuing, I was burning lamb chops and things like that. Right. It's a pleasure to reconnect with my friend Darryl Haynes. Nice to have you on the show.
Good stuff. Glad to be here. Yep.
So what are you going to be making for us, Darryl?
We're going to be doing a mussels Rockefeller.
Oh my goodness,
it's
wonderful.
it's a version of the oysters Rockefeller.
Yes,
We're basically
exactly.
using the same sauce. And we're using fresh Newfoundland farmed mussels.
Perfect,
Yeah,
perfect. So
yeah.
let's get started then.
Yeah, so we got a nice
Hot pan there.
pan there, and we got some, start off with some diced bacon there.
Bacon, perfect.
And along with our bacon, we're going to get some onion in
Oh,
there.
nice chiffonade of onions, yes, absolutely.
So we're going to let that go for a second there. And,
This would be a perfect hors d'oeuvre item, wouldn't it?
oh my goodness, yes, it certainly would.
Do you know where oysters Rockefeller was invented?
I'm sure you're going to tell us, Karl.
Yes, I am. They were invented at a restaurant called Antoine's in New Orleans.
In New Orleans, I thought it maybe New York. Oh, okay.
No, New Orleans. And they were named after John D. Rockefeller,
Really? Okay.
who was a very wealthy man. He was a billionaire. And the reason they called it oysters Rockefeller was because there was such a rich sauce that went over the oysters. And rich sauce, rich man. So, Rockefeller.
That's right.
Yeah.
So we're going to saute the bacon and the onions, butter, and so they'll become translucent.
For sure, yeah.
So what would you do to the mussels prior to?
So basically, we took a couple of pounds of fresh mussels and we steamed them in white wine and fresh garlic only.
Okay.
And so we steamed them, let them cool, and we shocked them, and we just put our mussels back on the half shell.
Okay.
And what we saved was the broth
Okay.
from what we steamed them in. So basically, we have the mussel broth that we're going to deglaze this pan with.
Okay.
And we're going to add some white wine and cream, and we're going to let it reduce down. So we're going to make a nice cream sauce.
Okay. So can we add some of the ingredients now?
Yeah.
Okay.
So we got our nice
Mussel broth,
and then we just got a
touch of white wine.
splash of white wine.
Okay, we'll put on full blast. Yeah.
Let that come up for a second there, and then we got some of the whipping cream.
Okay. And then we'll reduce that down.
We let that reduce down.
Why is it that when you go to the supermarket, sometimes mussels are very, very tiny, and other times they're quite large? Does it have to do with the season, or the producer, or?
Well, they're certainly available year round. I guess it's probably to do with the age, if I were to guess.
Well, yes, yeah. Of course, the older they are, the bigger they get.
For sure.
Yeah.
I did read something quite interesting the other day, though, that the orange ones are actually the females,
Yeah.
and the white are the male.
Males.
Yeah.
correct.
Yes, I've heard that too. Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah. The orange ones, I think, look more appetizing,
For sure, yeah.
but they both essentially taste the same, don't
Yeah.
they?
So we're going to add our heavy whipping cream here,
Okay.
and this will basically take 3 to 4 minutes for
To reduce.
to reduce down to
Okay.
a boil there. So
So then you would add the spinach.
yeah, we would add our fresh chopped spinach.
Okay.
And then we'd season it with a little bit of pepper. We wouldn't add any salt to this recipe because we got the natural salt from the mussels. We have 2 types of cheese going on there.
Okay.
Yep.
And we'd sauce them. We add our cheese, and then we broil them.
And what about the pernod?
The pernod we put at the very end.
At the very end.
Yeah,
Okay.
And we put that in the very end of the sauce and
Okay.
give it the flavor
Okay, so
itself.
that sauce, when it's ready, goes over this.
Yes, yeah.
Then the cheese and the herbs and so forth.
For sure,
And
yeah.
this goes in the oven.
Yes,
correct?
yeah, we just boil it
and
right in the
then
oven.
what we end up with is what you have behind here. Okay,
Yep.
so they've been baked off in the oven.
They have,
There's
yeah.
your mussels Rockefeller, and you've got a plate here ready.
And you put a little bit of rock salt on there.
Got a bit of rock salt on there.
So this is just for a nice
And
presentation.
these hold up very well, particularly if you're having an hors d'oeuvre party. You can make these in the morning,
Yeah.
keep them in your fridge, and just broil them when you need them.
They look
Absolutely.
rich, don't they?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Very, very rich.
Isn't that nice?
Yeah.
Well, can I try one?
certainly can.
Okay. This is the best part. Okay.
If you're going to have one, Karl, I'm sure I'm
You
going
may
to have
well.
one too.
Oh, wow.
You can taste the pernod and the white wine. and-
That's a nice change from just regular
For
steamed
sure, yeah.
mussels.
There's a little bit of work to them, but you got a good end product there.
Yeah,
For sure.
Absolutely.
yeah. That's absolutely delicious.
Yeah.
Well, thanks very much for coming on the show, Darryl. It's
Thank
been
you.
Great seeing
Thank
you
you.
again. And that's it for this edition of
One chef.
One Critic.
Why I'm wearing an apron today? Chef did it again. It's alive! It's alive! Why I'm wearing an apron today is because that's just what I did. And look at my mess of my shirt. Look, my tongue slipped.